Jason, thanks for being here, big dog. Let's get right to it. No team name and no headphones, so I know you're ready for this. When and how did the process of becoming the Washington football team president begin?
Yeah, it began, a little while ago. It's actually pretty recent, but it started by something that you might have expected to happen. I'm a business executive, former player in D.C. The Snyders own the team in D.C. It's almost inevitable that our paths would cross, and it just happened at the right time where they were looking for a business executive. And through a series of conversations, which frankly were surprising to me, we didn't actually start talking about finances right away. We got there. We didn't start talking about all that stuff right away. It was rooted in values and culture and language, like inclusive and transparent and accountable. And for me, it got real concrete because they started to talk about what Coach Rivera is doing on the football side to establish that. And we brainstormed what that could look like on the business side. We shared our individual past failures, and it got really real to the point where at the end of several conversations, we felt like there was good alignment in our values and our view of culture, and we were excited to work together.
I love that. I love that. I love that. You said it got really real. So let's get real. You're an incredibly smart man. You've accomplished a lot. You don't necessarily need to explain your accomplishments to me or anybody else, but you can. But there's clearly a perception out there, Jason Wright, that you got the job because you're a black man. I've gone out and I've tried to defend that myself. But what would you say to those who say you got this job because you're black?
Yeah, I mean, it's not an uncommon thing, right? Y'all have experienced this at some point as well, and that's an unfortunate thing that exists across several organizations in the world. What I'll say, though, is this. If there's a white brother out there who played 7 years in the NFL, got a top 5 MBA, became a partner at a consulting firm, and led businesses through transformations for the last 8 years, and I beat him out because I'm black, I apologize.
Damn, he dead at that. Look. One of the people that says that is actually me, so he has to defend it against me because you know what's crazy, Jason? Real talk. You check all the boxes, but you check the most important box in this current climate when we're talking about being black, and that's, as you said, is a cherry on top. But the reality is you're qualified. But to look at it from a different position, let's not talk about the white guy that may check all the boxes, but the climate right now, because that job vacancy was there for 8+ months. And then all of a sudden you come in and some say to swoop and save the day. What do you say to that your job description is going to be grander than just team president of business operations?
Well, I think any chief executive already plays a bit of a public-facing role, right? If you look at corporations around the world, the CEOs that I've counseled, a lot of our time is talking to them about how they face the world, how they are a representative of the organization that they are leading. And so, I expected that to be part of the role. And insofar as my blackness is part of that, like I'm unapologetically black, so that will be present in how I engage with the public and the media, et cetera, in that process. But I think the important thing to think about on this dimension is that, diversity or whatever phrase you want to use to describe it is not just valuable from an optics standpoint, it's actually valuable from a business standpoint, because when you have diverse voices in the room, all the research says you make better decisions and your organization is more profitable over time. And I'm the business executive. I'm here to make dollars and cents. And so I'm in for that, whether it's me or anybody else, bringing that diverse perspective to the table.
Now, your team, the Washington football team, has been riddled with scandals. Dan Snyder has fought changing the name. There's been reports of inappropriate sexual conduct. How are you prepared to face these kinds of issues?
Yeah, and those need to be taken incredibly seriously. And actually, the steps that the Snyders took prior to me taking this role encouraged me that things are moving in the right direction. They were evidence of real culture change because they brought in an independent investigator. I work with a lot of companies. They don't want to do that. That's pulling back the curtain and letting somebody else in your house look in every nook and cranny, surface the good, the bad, and the ugly. That is a really right? That's a really risky, vulnerable thing to do. You want people looking under your bed? So it is a real thing that they have chosen to do that, and it gave me confidence. And I've actually led transformations like this with companies in very similar situations. And depending on what the facts are, I don't know yet. I start on Monday. I know the several routes that it'll take to get there. And so I actually feel quite confident in taking on that challenge. It's going to be complex. It will be challenging. It's going to require real engagement with people. But I feel really confident that we're going to get there.
Now, I think everybody's looking at this backwards. Everybody's saying first black team president in NFL history. Great for the Redskins. Great for the Redskins. But then I said, wait a second. This brother played in the league, top education, both at Northwestern and then University of Chicago, MBA. This dude had options. Everybody's saying, well, congrats to the Redskins. Why did they want you? But let me ask you, to the Washington football team, why did they want you? But let me ask you, why did you want the Washington football team?
You know what? I appreciate that question. There are two streams of my identity that I wasn't sure were ever going to come together. My formative years as a football player, 7 years old, my pops as my coach, playing in the Southern California sun, going to Northwestern, winning a Big Ten championship and making those lifelong connections with my teammates and going to the league and toiling for years just to make it, getting fired every other week. And then finally becoming a stable player and having a longer career and being a team captain. It formed who I am as a person, is part and parcel with football. And then since then, being an analytic thinker and a business leader and helping organizations transform, in what other role do those two streams come together? In the context of an organization whose leadership has said, we're going to pivot and go in a cultural direction that I believe in. And then I don't have to move. I already live in the DMV area. To me, it's a no-brainer to be excited about this. And I'm not afraid of big challenges. That excites me. Something that was boring and rote, that doesn't suit me real well.
Y'all catch that humble brag. He ain't got to move. He already got the NFL money. He already got a mansion. What y'all tripping on? All right, look, Jason, you've been tasked with changing the culture. I caught that. Not all team presidents are asked to do that, change the culture. I saw that in the fine print of some of the articles written about you. You feel an added responsibility with that?
No, I actually think every chief executive should be challenged with not necessarily changing the culture. Right? I mean, that might not be changing the culture, but it might be improving the culture. Because this is my belief, and the data, again, backs it. You'll see me say data a lot when y'all talk to me. But the data backs it up, is that business performance is sustained when you have a healthy organization, when people want to work there. They feel valued. They know that their voices are heard. You have diversity in the right places. Organizational health boosts performance over time. And so I actually think every chief executive should be as concerned with organizational health as they are with business performance, because you can't really sustain one without the other. I just am coming into a point where the outside-in perception, and I'll find out how it really is that the culture needs transformation in a fundamental way.
Jason, we keep it real on this show, bro. That's what we do best. So I'm going to keep it a buck with you here. We all know players don't trust the suits. The players are in the locker room downstairs. The coaches, the presidents, the owners, they are upstairs. The players predominantly black, 70.4%. The ownership, management, predominantly white. There's a dichotomy between player and suit. You were a player. You now wear the suit. How are you going to fix that rift? How are you going to mend what is inherently fractured?
That's a good question. I think I'm a little bit of a walking experiment on this, right? I can tell you what won't happen. I'm not going to jettison my identity as a player. I won't forget my time as an NFLPA rep. Those are aspects of my identity that will apply to my thinking, how I lead the business, how I engage with all the various different sides of the business. But I also won't forget, my time as a senior executive in corporate America, helping other senior executives make tough decisions. I'm actually eager to see how those all come together for me. But I think the thing that I've put in place is to give you a little bit of, transparency on how I operate. I keep a set of counselors and mentors around me at all times, and they call me to the carpet. They know my values. They know how I want to act. And they will call me on the phone and say, hey, Jason, this decision you made or this way you appeared in the media, that's not you, man. What are you on? And I think those folks are going to help me find my way in this new role of how those two identities blend together. I think one thing that helps, though, is I'm on the business side. And so I'm going to be applying so much more of my business brain. Coach Rivera oversees the players. I'm not in player personnel. I don't have secret draft boards. I'm not in anything related to game planning, nor do I want to be. The nerd in me wants to be in the business. I think it will be a little less relevant, but I'm anxious to see how I evolve as a leader in this.
Goodness, you said the nerd in you, man. Oh, good Lord.
Talking to some nerds.
Oh, you talking to some nerds
up here.
Oh, man, don't let nothing fool you. I am a big nerd. And I'm older than you, but listening to you and doing my homework on you, man, it's almost like I want to be you. Envious, jealous. I admire your path to who you are right now. Now, walk with me here, because we got on before off mic and we were saying you look like achievement. And I want to talk about the power of achievement, because you were on that football field and you accomplished the dream of being a professional football player. But I remember my last year in Jacksonville, and I'm sitting there with another stinger in my neck, knowing that my good days are behind me. What's next? And I remember peeking at the owner's box and watching all of the executives having hot dogs and cotton candy and playing with the grandkids. And I was like, up there is true power. Up there is another level of achievement. Talk to me about that feeling from being on the field and that power of achievement to right now. You are a team president.
I wouldn't downplay the achievement that the two of you and I experienced on the field in the league. I think it's a little bit relative, and I want to knock it. It's a little apples and oranges. I hear what you're saying, 100%. But, the achievement on the field is to be commended, because there are so many things that had to happen for you to get there and for you to be there, even with that stinger and all the things that we still carry in our bodies as a result of playing in the league. There's so many things that had to happen. So many people that paved a way for you, were mentors at the right time, who bailed you out when you made a wrong decision, who coached and encouraged you, who called out the greatness in you. There's so many people that contributed to that. I don't want to downplay that at all. And your own ingenuity, your grit, your desire, all that stuff. I think in some cases, achievement, and I'll go to corporate America because I'm just now getting back into sports. I don't know really the echelon here yet. But in corporate America, some of those folks at the highest levels didn't do half that stuff. So I wouldn't downgrade it in a different way. But those who have and have come a well-wrought path, and this is actually one of the ways that this is one of the things that in my conversations with Dan Snyder really inspired me. This man started his own business from scratch. Say what you want about him. He didn't come from money. He developed that along the way on his own. There is something about those folks who have achieved in that way that is very similar. They just chose a different path because the asset they had and the opportunities they had were different. But I think you, me, and all of us are now at an inflection point where we can say, how do we bridge over into that world if that is something that is attractive to us? And it's a different it's a different sphere of influence of which to have influence. And brother, if that's something you aspire to, you could absolutely do it. I sort of did it on accident, just following my inner nerd. I came to it by accident, but I wouldn't downplay the one over the other. Both are valuable, and I'm eager to see more of us in both.
Man, appreciate you, Jason. Great success to you. And if you want to text me a daily proverb or, just a daily word, hit your boy up. Appreciate you, big dog.
I'm going to hit you with some silliness now. You already know how I roll, man.